they're in an array. Good morning. My name is Sean Shapiro. This is Ask a Traffic Cop, and it's a place on the internet where you go and talk to me, a traffic cop, about stuff and things. Primarily about traffic law, traffic safety, and police stuff in general. But that's what we do here Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. It's this thing that's been going pretty well, so we're going to keep it going. What is it exactly? What does it really mean? It means that you ask us questions, we answer them. Now, we are based in Ontario, so the majority of what we talk about is going to be Ontario-specific. Some laws will change province to province. Someone came in and said good morning from New Brunswick. Some things will be different in New Brunswick, but a lot of it is general driving stuff. And for that stuff, it's going to be the same. Tint laws may differ. Front license plate being required in Ontario may not be required where you are. Wearing headphones. You can wear headphones in Ontario when you're driving. You can't in some other places, in most other places, in fact. A lot of questions about that. I see Chase is in volley. Okay, trafficcop.ca. I got to drop that right now and tell you that if you want to make sure that you get your questions answered, or if you want to appear by way of video or audio on the show, then drop us a visit to trafficcop.ca. That will invite you to the Volley app space that we've created, and it allows you to ask us questions and ask them in advance. For instance, let's go into the Q&A right now. I see that there are some questions in queue. So one of them is there an odd, silly law that you must, or that most other law enforcement in Toronto don't enforce? And there's all sorts of stuff that's out there, like the fact that sleigh bells, you have to have sleigh bells on your sleigh. Well, it's not something we enforce very often. How often do you see sleighs in downtown Toronto? But there's a whole bunch of stuff. But there's a lot of things that we focus on the stuff that leads to serious injury and death. So it's not that it's silly, but it's stuff that we just don't get to because we're so busy trying to keep people safe. So the little things are less of a priority. But I've got to come up with a list. I said I was going to do that before the show, and I haven't had a chance to really look into the HTA for silly stuff. The stuff that we just never talk about because it's not a priority. Okay, let's go back here. Can I get my hood and roof wrapped with black vinyl? You can, in fact, wrap your vehicle. And if you're not changing the color substantially, so if it's the roof only and the hood only, do you have to change the ownership to reflect that it's multicolor? The hood may be for multicolor. The roof, not so much. I think the threshold is about 50% to make it multicolor. But it's always best to check with the ministry and make sure that, because if they think you should, then you should, because they make the rules. Let's see here. Oh, what is this? Ishan Mitter is asking about clear microbio air tint, headlight, taillight, trans holographic. Okay, headlight, taillight tint you can't do. You can't. It says transparent, but it's going to be changing things. You can't use any tint on your headlights or your taillights. That's going to be changing the way it works. Chase has a question. What does Chase have to say? We're going to jump into the other platforms in just a second, but we're going to start to make sure that everybody gets ahead of the queue by using trafficcop.ca, which is, again, just an invitation to our volley. Let's see here. On rural roads, can you cross a double? Oh, okay, that's TJ Campbell asking a question. Okay, I'm going to play the question here from, I lost it, here we go, from Chase.
Great seeing you this weekend, Sean. And so, question, when you're on a multi-lane highway with a 100 kilometer an hour speed limit and an emergency vehicle is behind you, are you supposed to pull over to the nearest curb and come to a complete stop, or can you still keep moving? I just see a lot of people fully stopping, and it just seems dangerous.
Okay, so that's a good question. So you're on a road, actually anywhere. If you are hearing an emergency services vehicle approaching, you see the lights and sirens, you are supposed to come to pull over to the nearest curb or edge of roadway and come to a stop. And that's because you see them in advance and you're doing that. Now, if they're just right up behind you and they you hear them last moment, well, by the time you stop, they've already passed you. So you don't need to come to a complete stop just because you've seen them. This is an anticipation of their arrival. You're getting out of the way. You're helping. It depends on where you are. So if you're in that rural road setting that Chase was talking about, yeah, you are supposed to pull over and stop if you're seeing them. But if they're just right up behind you before you notice them, you pull over and get out of their way. And once they pass you, continue along your way. But that's a good question. And that's the power of volley, allowing you to send me a voice message. So it's on rural roads, can you cross on a double yellow line or wait until it's a yellow dotted line? Okay, so first of all, let's establish what the difference is between a white line and a yellow line. It's the direction of the vehicles on the other side of it. So you'll notice a yellow line is in the middle of the road when, the road or the vehicles are coming. It's contraflow. They're coming the other way. When it's a white line, that means people on the other side of the white line are going the same direction as you. So, solid line, double line. Solid line means you should not cross. It's telling you it's not safe to do so. Sometimes you see a double line. One side is dotted, one side is solid. It means the person on the dotted. This is basic driving stuff. But is it against the law to cross them? No, not in Ontario. Some provinces and states, yes. So know the rules for where you are because you don't want to get a ticket. That's the deal. Hang on, let me change the angle of this camera. It's bothering me. Instagram. I got to move the camera. Okay. Everyone's got a different zoom level. It's all wild. Okay, so can you get a ticket? No, but can you cause a collision? If you cause a collision, obviously you're at fault. You were given a warning. The little dotted line, the solid line, all suggested it wasn't a good idea, and you did it anyway. Yeah, you could end up getting yourself, certainly be held responsible for the collision, and yeah, bad things happen. Okay. I got a ticker on YouTube because we are currently broadcasting on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. Did I say Twitter already? Listen, here's the deal. If you're on Twitter, I apologize in advance. You can't ask questions in our chat. It doesn't work. However, you can go on to Volley and join us there, trafficcop.ca. Okay. Chase says that the audio seems quite rough. I think that's primarily my voice today because it's I think I'm losing it. All right. We got lots of different hearts and love sent by one Facebook user. Big Jeff Fresh coming in through YouTube says, "Hey yo, bet you're missing the outdoors already." I am not missing. I am enjoying sitting down. Normally, I need to stand up because I'm so sore from sitting. Now I got to sit down because I'm so sore from standing. And so, Big Jeff Fresh, the audio issues you're having, I need some feedback. I don't want audio feedback. I want feedback on the audio. What's the issue with the audio? Maybe I should log in for another source and hear it. Let's see what there is, because I want to fix it if it's a problem. All right, going here. Standing by. Yeah, I don't think you ever heard me with a voice that's been used for an entire weekend, 12-hour days. I think that's really the issue. Stephen Galton just saw your Q&A message. I'll respond in a second if I have an answer, because that looks like a parking question. But we're going to try it. All right. Let's go to the live. I have an answer because that looks like a parking question. But we're going to try it. That does sound really high. Really loud. What is that? Why is that? And good morning to Leo Wife. I'm getting a really bad connection. Well, let's try something. Hang on one second. Apologies for the off in La La Land fixing technology. Maybe because I unplugged things and plugged things in again. Computers don't like that, do they? Sounds like an old radio. That's not good. Let's make sure that my audio connections are good here. Zoom P8 audio. Yeah, we got that. Maybe we're just we're peaking. Why are we peaking? We're going to drop it down. See if this is any better. I don't know what's up. So I hear myself. I sound good in my ear. We're plugged in. Yeah, things are good. I'm not sure what's up. Let me know if it's any better. Okay. Yeah, I see that. So on screen, it seemed like better now. Okay, I dropped down the volume. That's interesting, like 20% lower. So it was maybe I don't know. Maybe they updated some inner workings of the software we use. Let me know if the audio is good for TikTok and for the folks on Instagram, because now we've made adjustments. I want to make sure we're everybody's happy as best we can. Now we're good. Okay, let's move on. So we have old radio. I like that. Okay, there was a time that, what is this? Liz says There was a time that pulled to the right for a fire truck. All the drivers just stopped in the left lane where all the vehicles in the left lane. The fire truck jumped into the right lane where he pulled. Okay, so funny, you bring up this whole concept where people don't know what to do when they see lights and sirens. It's a real issue, and that's one of the reasons why we do not use our lights if we don't have to, because it seems like folks don't know what to do in the event of an emergency. So we find that it's much safer. Oh, someone's calling. I don't know who it is, so I'm going to ignore it. Okay. This is a thing we do. We do this all the time. So I don't answer the phone when people call. I don't know what that extension is. Okay, they'll have to leave me a message. You guys are more important. Must have coffee. Okay. By the way, don't subscribe. I mean, follow us, but don't subscribe. The reason I say don't subscribe is for some reason we have a subscription option that's being offered. TikTok can't turn it off. I don't know if I activated it or if they activated it. Don't. We are free. Don't pay it for anything. We don't want your money. We're the police. We don't need your money. But we are here for you, and we want to get your questions answered. Let's move on. 50% better, Chase says. All right, cool. Speaking about markings on roadways, you may want to touch on curves and crests of grade with regards to passing safely or going left of center. Okay, very good point. We talk about these things when we talk about U-turns. And if you can't see, and this is generally why these markings on the road are there. If you are going to make a U-turn, you can't do it on a crest of grade where you can't see the other side. You can't make it on a curve where you can't see around the curve. These are obvious things. You can't do it at a tunnel, a viaduct, a bridge, at a railway crossing. These are places you can't do U-turns. It's also something a place where you shouldn't be passing left of center. The dotted line or the solid line are giving you an indication that it's a bad idea. When I say that you cannot or that you can't be charged for crossing the line, there's no charge. The line itself isn't enforceable. The information it provides is really, really good. So don't do it if it's avoidable, because if you cause a collision, you're going to be entirely responsible. That's where I was going with all this. Okay, let's go in and see what's happening here in the TikTok world. And then I'm going to come back and have a look at what's happening on the Volley app. And because I don't have a birdie typing for me today, I'm going to create a little Word document, hit the paste. There we go. By the way, if you're new to the channel, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service, and I go live Monday to Friday from 10 to 11 answering your traffic and police questions. Now, it doesn't mean you can only ask us questions then. You can ask them anytime on trafficcop.ca. You can also jump into comments. I do my best to get through them. Volley is going to be, I think, turning into our community where we can come together and ask and have conversations. It's something unique. If you haven't tried Volley, check it out. I think you're going to like it. You might just become a Volley person yourself in all areas of your life. Who knows? Who knows? All right. Do you have to unlock your phone if an officer asks? I have no reason to see what's on your phone, so I don't think you need to be. I don't think there's anything in law that suggests you have to. Now, border guards or CBSA, that's a different situation. I think they have authority, but I'm not aware of anything for us. Okay. So I just paid a speeding ticket. Afterwards, I was told that the officer has not filed it yet. Interesting. I don't know what jurisdiction you're in. I believe that we have to have ours in, if nothing's changed since I was on the road, have them in filed within 10 days. Beyond that, it would probably be withdrawn. Now, if you, how did you pay it? Because I wonder how you paid it. If you sent it by mail and it hasn't been filed, who knows? I don't know what will happen in that situation, because that's to the courts. But contact them. It might be filed by the time that your payment gets processed, and it might just all work. I wish I had better information for you. But I think that we had a rule we had to file it within 10 days or they cancel it. But that maybe have been extended. I don't know. All of our stuff is electronic unless it was paper tickets. The electronic tickets are like instantaneously sent. Melissa's saying, have a great day, and I take it is booking off. Thanks for popping in. Always a pleasure to hear from you. My friend who we used to work together. Big Jeff Fresh is enjoying the marquee scroll at the bottom. Thank you very much. I wish I could take credit. I actually found the switch. So if you're on YouTube right now, or TikTok or Twitch, or basically anywhere other than Instagram and TikTok, there's a blue bar on the bottom of the screen, and it's scrolling and saying that you can go to harleyraffle.ca to get your chance to buy tickets for a Harley Davidson that's being raffled off in support of Special Olympics Ontario. 1 ticket for 20, 3 for 50, and that's basically what's going on across the bottom, along with a trafficcop.ca tag saying that you can send me your video, voice, or text questions. And Neon just sent a message, but it was deleted. Let's see here. Okay, we already covered that. What's the question from? So I'm getting some text messages. In regards to street parking, how far from a stop sign must you stop? Boy, parking is not my forte. I think we should save that one for Erin, and she's in the Q&A, so maybe she'll answer it, because I don't want to give you bad information. And parking, it's not my bag. I don't know. I'm going to say I don't know, so I don't give you the wrong answer. And then Erin might magically appear and give us the answer, unless she's on vacation, which is also possible. Actually, I think I saw on her social media that she has a boo-boo. I think she's in a cast. I think she was celebrating her birthday. This is me talking social media. I don't know if that was her public-facing social media or not. So if I just told you something you weren't supposed to know, oopsie, social media, it gets the word out. It works. All right, let's move on. We have, can you report an intersection to TPS where pedestrians constantly walk against the light? Absolutely you can. www.torontopolice.on.ca. Apparently TPS.ca also works, but I'm old school and I've been saying the same thing one way for 22 years, so I just keep saying it. But TPS.ca/core, C-O-R-E, should take you to a page for the Citizen Online Report entry, and that allows you to type in or make reports for neighborhood safety issues when it comes to traffic safety issues. And that is where you would go to make that report. That would create an actual factual police report, which gets then disseminated to police officers in the division, so there can be attention given to that particular area. Somebody wants to know if 240 kilometers on the 407, is that legal? Presuming you're traveling for 240 kilometers at 100 kilometers an hour, because the speed limit's 100 kilometers an hour on the 407. Yeah, 240, that would be something that I would arrest you for dangerous driving under the criminal code. And a charge you for stunt, I think, on top of that. I think I can combine those two. I think it would be worth it for me to charge you, not for you to do it. Okay. Okay, we covered that. What happens if you get pulled over without a safety for your car? So if you have not certified it, if you're on temporary plates and you're beyond the 10 days and you haven't got a safety with you, your vehicle's unsafe. You don't have plates, or if you do have plates, we pull them, and you can't drive because your vehicle's unsafe. So it happens. Can you turn left at a red light on a one-way street? As long as the street you are on is also a one-way street. So if you're on a one-way street, going to another one-way street, yes, on a red light, you can make a left turn, presuming there's no sign preventing it or prohibiting it, and that it's safe to do so. So you treat it the same way you would turn a right turn on red everywhere else. Your province or state may have different laws. I gotta have that new thing on the bottom of the screen flashing. Check with your local authorities before. Yeah. Okay. Alex Q says hi. Hi, Alex. I saw someone throwing garbage out of their car. I clicked a picture of the car and the garbage. What to do? Really, there's not much to do. If I see it, I would charge them with littering on the highway. It is a charge under the Highway Traffic Act. Unfortunately, us seeing, well, actually, you know what, you could, I was going to say you could send us video of it, but if truly, a police officer needs to see it happening. We have to see who the driver is, not just the vehicle owner. See, red light camera tickets, we can operate or lay charges, city lays charges based on the information, because it's different information required to lay that charge. It doesn't require to know who's driving. The vehicle owner is responsible. The littering situation is seeing someone in the car actually doing it. So I'd love to lay the charge, can't lay the charge. Based on your information anyway. Could certainly send them a letter. You could put actually a great opportunity to use the core system we just talked about, tps.ca/core. That's going to allow you to put in a report about a specific vehicle that was observed doing a specific thing. And then we could write them a letter and say, on this date and time at this location, you were observed by a member of the public and contact police. And this is going to be it would be on record, because we'd actually put that in relation to their license, or at least their license plate. Okay. We have By the way, if you don't already follow us, please do. We do this Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. On the second day, with more tea, I will sound better, and we'll probably be a little more organized. But this was the first day back after Honda Indy, which was amazing, by the way. And in the not-too-distant future, I expect we'll be joined by Sergeant Kulik, who will, help share the word about, the word. We're just talking about what we did on the weekend, which was awesome. And a shout out to anyone who saw us over the weekend and came to say hello. It was really nice meeting all of our fans and followers and folks who said, hey, you're that guy from TikTok. It was awesome. It was just awesome. All right. What do we got here? Oh. People ask always about how motorcycles are allowed to be noisier than cars. Not true. I say it all the time. I say it's not true. In fact, we have laws that are specifically in place in the city of Toronto that specifically detail how loud a motorcycle can be at idle, which is 92 decibels, if anyone was wondering. And members of our unit got together with the bylaw enforcement team that specifically does this, and they have their instrument that reads the decibel rating. And guess what? They issued 3 bylaw tickets. That's $500 each. Now, there were 6 additional tickets issued by Toronto Police, and there was 1 person arrested. I believe they were on a stolen motorcycle that was identified based on this little project. So that's really cool. I like hearing about this stuff. And the person, apparently it was a Harley, a stolen Harley. So hopefully that a Harley owner gets their bike back soon. But cool. I like getting these little updates. I like sharing these updates with you. I just read that for the first time myself. I knew there was a note for me. I just didn't have the details. Oh, Shani Schutz says, nice to meet you at Indy this weekend. I was the photographer. It was really nice to meet you too. I met somebody. I was tagged in a post. Have I ever been tagged in a post from somebody before? Probably, but a non-police person on a police account, I don't. That might be a first. So I was tagged. I'm in a photo. It's pretty cool. Actually, I was in a whole bunch of photos, but the first one I was actually tagged on where I got to see the photo. But I posed for a lot of photos. And what makes it different, because I must say that as a police officer wearing a uniform, riding a motorcycle for a long time, everywhere we went, people wanted to take photos with us. And I used to pull over. If I saw a wedding, I'd pull over and we'd put the bride and groom and put them on the motorcycle and let them take a picture together. Because what better way to have an awesome picture in your wedding album? It's things you can do to make people's lives better. And I try and take those opportunities. So I've been in many photos with people I don't know. But I've never been in plain clothes, identified, and taken photos before. So this was a unique experience where someone says, I know who you are and I want to take a photo with you. Cool. All right. How do you feel about jealousy in a relationship? He's not giving me reasons to, it's just me. I don't know. If you trust, this is not our normal question stuff. So, but I do have feelings about this. I mean, if you trust the person you're with, then you trust them, and if you don't trust them, then there's other issues going on. But jealousy, I'm not into controlling other people, so I'm not a jealous person. And if that doesn't work for you, then look into what's going on. But I'm really not a relationship counselor. So, but I appreciate you would ask me. Yeah. I don't know. Did I give the right advice? Is that good advice? I can look at Highway Traffic Act and say I was correct or incorrect at the end. Everything else is just thoughts and feelings. All right, can you turn left at a red light on a one-way street? We talked about that because it was asked on the other area. Oh, did I not invert? Oh, thank you very much. On Neon mentioned on volley. That's flip. That's the wrong button. Video. There we go. Now it's better. Thanks, Neon. And by the way, you guys can talk to each other on Volley. We only have 29 members inside the group, but you can actually message each other. It's the Q&A is where I'm paying attention for stuff, but it's something where you guys can have conversations day in, day out. It's just a place to meet. All right, boom. What is this? By the way, downtown the last couple of days, I saw 5 cars pulled to the side for fire and ambulance immediately. Is that good? Like it was done properly immediately, or are you saying that it was done unsafely immediately? Is it true? So let me know. I'll wait for your answer. Is it true that the proper use of roundabouts aren't written into the Highway Traffic Act? I don't know that it needs to be specifically written. I'd have to look it up because I don't know. But yeah, the deal is that you a roundabout, if you take the rules that apply everywhere else, they're the same. You need to signal the change of direction. And if you are following or entering a roundabout, you must just enter it. You don't have to signal going in because it's the curvature of the road. But exiting, you're now making a turn to exit. So if you're going to change direction and go out of the roundabout, you need to signal your intention to do that. That allows vehicles approaching to know what you're going to do next and then choose whether or not to enter or not enter. So it's I don't know if there's a roundabout section, but now I'm going to have to look it up. Thanks. Giving me homework. JB House says, hey, Sean, can I ask if you have a family and how they dealt with your abnormal work schedule? I do have a family, and sometimes the work schedule is difficult. In fact, I had left a Monday to Friday job with the police when I got married and became a police officer. So I was a court supervisor before I got married, and then shortly after I got married, very shortly after I got married, I became a police officer, and then, everything went upside down in terms of schedule. I knew what I was getting into, so did my wife. And it wasn't really an issue until we had kids, and then when we had kids, then, kids want to be tucked in and spend time, and that all changed. We figured it out. We dealt with it, and then I had a crash, and since my crash, I've actually been off of shift work. So my kids have benefited from having me around every day, and now they don't like me leaving the house ever. But that's different. They want to hang out and cuddle all day long. But in terms of the abnormal schedule, yeah, you're gonna, as a police officer or any shift worker, you're gonna miss birthday parties and events, and that's why you hope that you can get time off, but you don't have necessarily the ability to. So somebody said good morning. It probably wasn't to me, but they don't realize that they're live on the internet when they say that. This is the problem with having this open air environment. We are working to change that. We're moving into a different studio space, which is really exciting. JB, I didn't really give you a good answer for how you deal with it. The fact is, you just deal with it. It can be uncomfortable. I would do a lot of extra hours in other areas. I would bank my time. Really important stuff, I would try and schedule it. Or if somewhere I really wanted to be, I'd take annual leave to accommodate it. So, okay, now I think I've covered the work abnormal work schedule. Also, when you're starting, you never know when you're ending. That's generally how I've announced it to the world. So I can say I'm going to meet you somewhere, but I could be, held up for 10 hours because I'm involved in something. So if I don't show up, people move on without me. Okay. We have, how low is too low to lower your car, and what do they look for? Fantastic question. So there's a bunch of things for actual factual maximums or minimums that are part of the light truck and passenger vehicle guide, which would be for certification. Something I recently learned is there's a minimum height that your headlights can be to the ground. I never knew that. I learned that from Glenn, who is with the MTO. And they were at the Honda Indy with us. Although I didn't see Glenn at the Honda Indy, I did learn that from Glenn, who was with the MTO. Apparently he's the man who wrote that section, which is very cool. Meeting the guru who made entries in that guide. Additionally, there are some other suspension regulations that are great to know, but they don't help me because I don't know what the original ride height for 90% of these vehicles are. What I can tell you as a police officer, when I'm looking for a vehicle that is violating rules, when it's too low, is that it's, we got this microphone, okay, I'm just setting up. That was like the piano spring. Sergeant Kulik has joined. And
hello, good morning. I'm making noise.
It's okay.
I was trying to make I want to announce my entry.
Yes, make yourself known. So just answering about having a vehicle that was too low, like that Acura NSX, that orange one of the show.
Oh, yeah. It was almost on the ground.
It was actually resting, I think, on the ground. So the answer is, as a police officer, I'm looking for any tire on frame contact, any tire to body contact, any and that's at lock to lock or compressed suspension. I'm looking for a functioning suspension, so I'm going to push on the car, see if there's those sort of things that would be an indicator for me, a lay person to some degree, as in I'm not a mechanic, would be able to look at that and say clearly there's an issue. It's too low. And then there's the other stuff that, if we sent you for an inspection by someone more qualified, they'd be able to identify. Yeah. But we saw some cars that were very low, and suspension. I looked at some of those race cars. They're wow. They're like riding on a just inches off the ground.
It's almost like if you hit a pebble, you're going to bottom out.
Yeah, I don't think it would be good. I don't think I would enjoy having one of those cars. Like looking at one, maybe put it in my living room. I don't think I could fit it in my living room. I've seen some art cars where people have taken vehicles, mounted them, and put them on the wall. I mean, I've seen them in pictures. I've never seen them in person because I don't have that kind of. I don't roll like that.
I'd be afraid to drive something like that because every time there's something wrong with it, it's throwing dollar signs out.
Well, yeah, I was talking to Brian. It's on the episode of the podcast yet to be published, and we were talking about a Bugatti and how much it costs for a brake job. Like we're talking mortgage your house to pay for tires.
Wow.
There's a life cycle for the tires and for the brakes and because this thing's capable of doing 300 plus. Is it kilometers or miles an hour? It's like a spaceship. It goes fast, and to be able to maintain that safely, there are guidelines that apparently nobody follows because no one's going that speed. They just buy it to drive around Yorkville,
Or they're on the Autobahn.
yeah. Okay. Can someone with an A license teach someone with a G1 without having the 4 stars on your G? No. You have to have the 4 years. You have to have 4 years as a G2 combination. An A doesn't give you the ability to bounce. An A with the 4 years would still give you the 4 stars. It used to be 4 stars. Now it's 4 vertically aligned dots in the bottom right hand next to your mini-me. So that's a thing. All right. I gotta look at some new questions. Let's get a refresh here. Bugattis are $25,000 for an oil change, for real?
Yikes.
It's a little out of my price range.
That's more than some brand new cars.
Yes, I tend to spend more money on cars than I could because I don't fit into cars that are cheap. Not because they're cheap, but because they're small. You know, I think they stretch the metal as thin as they can, and when they run out of metal, so I need bigger vehicles to be comfortable. So I could. My buddy bought a brand new car. I think he bought a Subaru for $25,000, and I thought, wow, that's cheap. Well, it's not cheap, but it's cheap compared to what I had to buy for my truck so I could fit into it. It's the diary of a big guy. It's hard to fit into stuff.
Yeah, but then you're the opposite with me. I'm small, so I like to pay more to have adjustable pedals and seat height adjusters so I can be higher up and all those fancy things,
yes.
Right? That you don't have to worry about or think about.
We drive the same size vehicle and we are not vertically the same size.
Not even close.
If you haven't seen the video of Sarge and I getting in and out of the same SUV, because someone said, "You're not really 6'5", Sean." I'm like, "Let me show you." So we created this video, and Sarge gets in and puts the seat all the way forward because it was too far back for me, and then it's this loop that I had a lot of fun with. It's in our fun playlist on TikTok if you haven't
Quite
seen
funny.
it. I certainly enjoyed it. If nobody else enjoys it, I laugh whenever I see it. Okay. Big Jeff, we talked about Big Jeff Fresh here. Caitlin says, "Good morning, Sean. You should do a dad advice hour." Interesting. Because someone asked about relationships.
Oh.
They said, jealousy. If someone's, being jealous. I forgot where the actual question was because it's gone now. But, so I gave my jealousy bit. I'm like, this is the first time I've ever talked about anything other than cars, like or movies.
Yeah.
I've never get. So I don't know if my advice was good. I basically said, if someone, I'm not a jealous person, so I don't get jealousy. And, maybe there's other issues afoot.
That's right.
If someone's being jealous. I know that I'm always going home, and my spouse knows I'm always coming home.
Mine too. I'm going on 22 years now, so
I'm
happily
celebrating
married.
my 10th anniversary this year.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And when you find the right person, there should be no jealousy.
Well,
because you know that that love is endless love, right?
Now we're getting really deep. But we talked to, and many of my wife's friends and my friends asked about, how did you know? How did you know you had the right person? And I said, it was easy. It was as easy as breathing. We just knew.
Yep.
Okay. But dad advice. I could do dad advice. I don't know if anyone would like my advice. Okay. Okay. Liz says, this is a follow-up question to the question about lifestyle. And it's actually something you can weigh on too, being another shift worker. How do you get used to the whole shift work lifestyle as someone with a family? And Liz says that her dad was a TPS officer, now retired, and we used to do things like opening Christmas presents the night before, or on Christmas night celebrating birthdays on days other than the actual birthday, and you do what you got to do.
Yeah, you just make it work. And I can speak for myself being married to another shift worker in the emergency services. And yeah, we have missed Christmases over the years. We have missed birthdays and anniversaries. But when you have that family love and that bond together, it doesn't really matter what the date you celebrate things on, right? It's that time you spend together that's quality time, and you just make it work. And, you know, you adjust to the shifts over the years, and I can tell you my kids are much, much older now. And when I went on to a Monday to Friday spot for the first time in 26 years, after doing 26 years of shift, and my husband did it for 25 years of his life, and the kids both said, we like it better when you're on shift. We like having you home during the week when nobody else's parents were home. And it was really cool when you would take us out of school for the day and just take us somewhere on an adventure while everybody else was in school and everybody else was working. So, you know, it's like anything. There's pros and cons to shift work. There's pros and cons to Monday to Friday. And whatever works for your family, you make it work.
I love shopping on weekdays when no one else is there. It's like it's your own personal Costco.
Costco at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday
Yes.
morning is fantastic.
And then you have your hot dog lunch
Yep.
with nobody else to bother you. You're not fighting for a seat. I'm like that's my bliss.
Yep.
But I haven't had that in a long time. It's been 4 years since.
But
I
are you
shifted.
tired after night shift? Absolutely.
Sure.
You know, but, you know.
I
it
used to
works.
love night shift, though, because I would take, and I'm sorry for everyone who's like, why is the answer to my question? Because we're talking about other stuff today. Yeah, we're talking about everything. We'll get back to your questions in a sec. But I used to come home. Everyone would wake up. I'd take them to school and daycare and the subway. And then I'd go home. I'd crawl into bed. I'd sleep like the dead. I'd wake up. I'd go pick them up from school and whatnot. We had some quality time. And then I would go to work and they would go to bed. And it was a great balance.
Yeah, and they don't feel like they're missing out on anything because they've seen you.
Right. Absolutely. Liz says, funny enough, Dad always made it to parent-teacher nights. Mom went to the school concerts and other stuff. That was fun, school stuff. So, yeah, dividing the responsibilities. Yep. I have a friend who, both of them are Toronto police members. One is in courts, one is a police officer, and they work opposing shifts so that somebody is always with the kids. And they've done this thing where they're like ships, passing in the night, which would be very difficult, I imagine, but they make it work, which is cool. What is this? It could be because he's not noticed. Me online, maybe. I don't know. I must have missed somebody's questions. Okay. What do you do if someone lies to you in an accident scene, but you know he's lying? So here's a great thing. Physical evidence is really what we base our investigations in. We have statements that are independent statements from witnesses that are great. But if someone who's in the collision says ABC happened, I'm like, that's great. I know that your interests and perception will support yourself usually. Like, very rarely do we get someone who hits someone else and says, it was my fault. Just rarer. And so we hope that with all the information together, it paints a picture in support of the physical evidence. If it's completely wrong, I'll give you a great example. I had I was on duty, not in uniform, and I witnessed and caught on video a collision where a guy just drove into a tree. The driver got out of the driver door, the passenger got out of the passenger door, and the car rolls back into the road, and it was just a mess. But I know who I saw get out of each and every space. And I went up to give help. I did not identify myself as a police officer at that time. I was busy trying to see if anybody was okay. The guy says, he's fine. And I said, well, you were driving. He says, no, I wasn't. Well, what do you mean? I just saw you I got out of I was the passenger, but I crawled out of the driver's seat, and the guy who was driving crawled out of the passenger seat. I'm like, what are you talking about? So it turns out there's lots of physical evidence to support what's there. So despite the fact that I witnessed it, the investigating officer would clearly see physical evidence, not to mention the fact that I had video.
Yeah, video is always key. And I mean, we should all know by now that you're on camera everywhere. Everything you do, there's a camera somewhere.
Absolutely. They used to say, 20 years ago, that you are on video 15 times a day. 15 times a day. 20 years ago. You must be 1,500 times a day now.
For sure.
Because the technology's changed. Everyone's got a dash cam. No one had dash cams 20 years ago. Yeah. We were talking about bank machines catching you, possibly maybe as you walked by. Now everybody has video. So yeah, you're constantly being recorded. And hope you do the right thing because everyone's watching. Keenan wants to know, says personal question, but when you're buying your truck, which one did you fit in the best? I found I fit into the F-150 the best. That one, I could actually move the seat so far back that I can't touch the pedals. which is wild. So I fit. Now I find that the Sierras I don't fit into quite as well. It's not a like dislike. It's not anything other than physical size of the driver space. So both are nice. What if a car starts smoking at an intersection? What should the passenger and driver do? So you're talking about fire? Fire bad, as Frankenstein would say. The deal is you. The deal is you would pull over and call somebody, get out of the car, turn off the ignition, get out of the car, and don't go under the hood. If it's smoke, don't touch, because you may be containing things under that hood that would increase, possibly add oxygen to the mix. I would just step away. Your car can burn to the ground, and you can get a new one. You being injured is going to cause life-altering things.
And just create distance, too, from what it is, because not only is it safety if parts fly off or whatever, but the chemicals and all the stuff that's burning in there is very toxic. So you have to be very careful.
Absolutely. And good question. Props to you. I don't think we've ever had that question or anything even resembling that question. Okay, we got more questions. Ishan says he wants to know more about, is this I thought I answered this already. Is this transparent biohex legal for covering tailor headlights? No, you can't tint or cover, and I'm going to put a response here. You can't tint your headlights at all. Doesn't matter if it's transparent. Can't tint it, and you can't do anything to your rear taillights because you're making them less effective by doing so. You're going to end up getting tickets. Don't tint it. Looking cool is not worth getting tickets or being dangerous. So that was my little response directly into the Volley app. So if you're using trafficcop.ca to go to our Volley space, you can ask questions there too.
And the whole idea of having the factory lights that come with it is because there's visibility both to the rear and to the front. So if you alter that visibility, it means that you're not being seen and others won't see you properly, right? So just leave it as is.
Absolutely. There's very specific rules in terms of discernibility. Is discernibility a word?
Yeah.
It has to be discernible. So that means you have to be able to see high beam, low beam of the brake light. So when the marker light version, when you press the brakes, all of that has to be clear at a certain distance. You start messing around with this. Listen, manufacturers don't make lights to not meet specs. They do exactly what they have to do to make it legal to sell. And as soon as you change things, you're probably making it not legal to sell. Hey, can an officer? I don't know what the question is. Just following up to that, if I know someone's lying, providing a false statement at a collision scene, would it end up, I'm trying to think if there's anything else to add to that question. Chances are they give their statement. It's not perjury it's in court. It's perjury. So I don't know if there's anything else that would follow through with that.
Yeah, there's different charges that could be laid.
It's always interesting though. I love these questions that are completely out of the scope of what we normally talk about, make you think about it. So I'm just sitting here going, if someone lied to me, can I lay a charge? I've never done that. I've never had this
Obstruct,
situation.
I guess.
Obstruct investigation. Interesting. Obstruct police.
Depends on the circumstances, right?
Yeah.
How long is that person lying to you for? Is it only a few minutes and then the truth comes out? Or is it, a long-term investigation that takes a lot of police hours?
Interesting. Okay. Dak says, so if the tires don't rub, are you okay? So we're talking about lowering cars. That's a follow-up question for our lowered vehicles. If there's no contact and there's no rub, and it may not be an issue, but I can't tell you for certain that it's not an issue. Like we saw a vehicle over the weekend that had cut the safety stops on the suspension. That's still going to be illegal. There's other things here. What is this? I don't even know what this question is. Cop car top speed and 0 to 60. I haven't a clue. I don't know how fast they go, and I don't know how fast they get there because we are not racing. We're not trying to get somewhere so fast that we're going to even worry about that. They go as fast as we press the gas and get to where we have to go safely. It's all about safety for us. We don't want to go and speed differential is possibly more important than top speed anyway. So we're not trying to win any records. But
our cars all have police interceptors, so they do have
boom, boom.
different from what a standard vehicle would have. But you have to work within those means of the laws too, right? So
Ramsey asks, why are insurance rates so high in Toronto? So although I'm not an actuary and I do not work for an insurance company, my non-insurancy answer would be that there's a lot of cars here, and the majority of people are here. And when you pack a lot of people in a small space, you tend to get a lot of collisions. And we do investigate a lot of collisions. So if you're out in the country, your chance of becoming involved in a collision are lower than being involved in the city. That's not to say they don't happen there, just that you're statistically more increased odds of getting into a collision here. And that's likely why they've got higher rates. And higher rates for theft and higher rates of everything. Let's see here. Low, it's probably bags, not static. Yeah, those were in fact. I don't even know what part of your conversation, because I see people are having conversations amongst themselves. Does Ontario auction off seized property from illicit crimes? I don't know how that works.
I'm not sure about that. I do know that we do have auctions of items like left on TTC after a year if they're not claimed, some police stuff that's on there, but that's individual auction houses that have those items, so I'm not sure exactly how that works.
I think that I know TTC does it separately. They have their own auctions and open houses. There's police auctions. I don't know what their website is, but there is a police auctions website, and I think they handle property distribution for things that like you've said, that were unclaimed. But if we seized a Ferrari because of proceeds of crime, I have no idea how that would work.
Yeah, I don't think.
We're not seizing too many Ferraris?
No.
Can you have amber emergency lights on your personal vehicle? That's a question from Rocket via YouTube. And the answer is there's nothing regulating amber lights. So you could. I mean, there are regulations for tow trucks to have amber lights, but there's no regulation saying you cannot have not emergency use or hazard lights. And effectively, your hazard lights on your vehicle are doing the same thing. They're flashing to alert people of what's going on. Now, if you're driving around blinding people with your amber lights, we might start asking questions, but simply having them and using them isn't a violation. And if you're using them responsibly, that's a good use of them. Okay. I got an abandoned tent trailer. How do I get ownership? I don't know.
What do you mean abandoned?
So somebody it's been sitting somewhere for 25 years on public property. I don't know the ins and outs of this question because it's very vague. But if there was something dumped on your property and you wanted to officially own it, I don't know what the process would be. MTO would probably be a good resource, Ministry of Transportation, because there must be a process, but I just don't know the answer. Drinking dad's root beer and driving. Well, dad's root beer, as long as it has no alcohol, is not beer. It is something you can, because it's non-alcoholic. You can consume it while you're driving. I've never Sprite is also okay. Diet Coke. I do that on a regular basis.
So is water, and then you don't create sticky situations in your car.
Oh, spilling bad. One thing I will say is not every province is the same. I understand that in British Columbia, I think it's BC, doesn't allow drinking anything while you're driving, and they consider it distracted driving. And that's based on information provided from other viewers on the show. So I'm not familiar with that. I don't understand that, because how do you have to pull over to take a sip of your root beer? Coffee? Yeah, I don't think anyone would be able to drive in Toronto if that were the case. What's the penalty for running a radar detector, and is it true that you can detect them? So there are radar detectors. Radar is actually something that we don't use as often as you might think. Radar versus laser speed measurement. So that aside, so they're not as effective as you might think. One amazing thing when you have a radar detector is there's a lot of equipment that triggers it. So maybe they should rethink the laws, because every backup sensor and Bliss system uses radar, so it could trigger and give you a false reading. But more importantly, you shouldn't be worried about speeding, because you shouldn't be speeding. So you shouldn't be worried about someone detecting your speed. You should just follow the law. You won't need to waste the money on the machines. Some of them are very expensive, but the rule is it's $170. Comes with 2 demerit points when you're charged. Police have the authority to search and seize under the Highway Traffic Act. It's a pretty broad set of rules. Based on the belief that you might have one, we can search and seize said item. Now, searching means anything inside the vehicle, including the people inside that vehicle, because very often people say, "Oh, don't worry about seizure, because I can just put it in my pocket, then it's safe zone." No, we can actually search you too, which is often misunderstood. Also, we can pull out the tools and look through your vehicle, because people do some pretty intricate installations to try and hide these systems. Really, just slow down. So how do we detect them if we don't have a detector? Is that we behavior. It's amazing how if you hit the button on the laser or the radar and someone slams on their brakes, bingo, that's the first thing. There's also jammers. Jammers are amazing. You're doing 100, but it says you're doing 60. Well, how do we know you're doing 100? Well, there's a lot of ways to know. Like, what's the vehicle beside you doing? That's one indicator. So people think they're getting away with stuff, and a lot of this is a great way to invest in junk that might save you sometimes, but won't save you every time. And the easiest way is to not make yourself a hazard on the road, not put other lives at risk, yourselves included, and just follow the rules. Talk about the dad root beer controversy happening in. What's the dad root beer? I don't know. Is there a dad?
I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard anything either. Private Pants, tell us what's going on. I need to know because I'm not aware of any. I'm not aware of it. I just don't know. I'm not in the know. I mean, I knew about Honda Indy on the weekend. Actually, I can't even claim that because do you know about anyone who won a race? Like I do not know anything.
The final race, I don't know the guy's name, but it was won by the guy who's won it in previous years.
Yeah, that guy. Oh, I'm glad to hear that guy. That makes me feel better. That's too funny. Hold on a sec. We got some. Let me scroll back here. Oh, can I tint my windshield? That's a popular question, and apparently it's a popular situation. Like people want to do this in the States. Now, I was under the impression that there might be places where it was absolutely legal. And in speaking with my friends in Florida, it's not legal there either, but people are suddenly doing it. So that's interesting. What is this? Let's go here. I'm cutting and pasting a bunch of stuff here so we can catch up. What do we have here? If someone almost hits me and I have dash camera footage, what would happen if I sent in a report? Almost hitting you isn't hitting you. So what kind of, like they cut you off, they made an unsafe lane change, they were brake checking you. What was it? It matters. Those details matter. Okay, copy this. Go back into Word, my play-by-play. There we go. Cutting out some. So almost hitting you isn't hitting you. You could certainly put in a complaint on the core system, but if they hit you, you have evidence as to how it happened, the mechanism of the collision. However, if it's an almost, there's not much to really report, other than bad driving. So you could, but that would be tps.ca/core, CORE, and look at the specific vehicle report. You could upload it to YouTube or some kind of storage place and send us a link to the video. We look at it, see what we could do. How come when pulled over for just a plate sticker pre-Ford, every other cruiser stops going by? Stops going by? I'm not sure what's going on. I don't understand the question, my friend. I want to answer it, but I don't. Do you understand the question?
No.
Okay, good. As long as it's not just me. Can you switch a salvage title to fit on the ownership? I don't know. I got a lot of I don't knows.
I mean, I would think if it's mechanically, if you've
once you've got it safety,
made it mechanically safetied and it's passed everything and it becomes a fit vehicle.
But I think it doesn't it always. I don't know how it works. If it's always salvage,
that is definitely an MTO question.
MTO, yeah, MTO is good. They know stuff, and they have a Twitter account. Supervisor Baptiste, he pronounces it differently than our boss. He'd be a great guy to ask. We'll have to go into our Twitter.
We need to have him on the show.
I talked to him about that. He says he's going to come. He's going to do it. I want to do that. He's awesome.
It's a good resource.
Absolutely, and he has a Steadicam. He's got all the toys. He's a social media mogul. Okay, we talked about that. In the ditch. What is this? Oh, no, I think that's a username, in the ditch. Call Rich. You're allowed to talk about I don't know what we're talking about. This is somebody else's conversation. Somebody else is living in a dream world. I don't even know what we're talking about. So my friend got jumped, and the girl who jumped her wants to be an OPP. What happens to the OPP training? If someone jumped someone else, I'm assuming you mean assaulted them, and if they assaulted someone, then you should likely put in a police report of being assaulted, at which point, now consensual fights happen, but if you're talking about someone who assaulted someone else, make a report. You're entitled to make a report. It'll get investigated. How often are your radar guns and breathalyzers calibrated to ensure accuracy? So we have to ensure that our radar or speed measurement laser devices are working as per manufacturer specifications before and after their use for enforcement. And then breathalyzers, we are confirming that they are working properly before, but there is a cycle, and I don't recall the number of days anymore, of how often they need to be checked, not just by the user, but by our breath coordinator, and that's it's a regular cycle.
Every few weeks.
Yeah. So everything's maintained. That we're on top of that because we want everything to work properly and hold up in court. So, yeah. Okay. What does that have to do with breaking law? Okay, we're talking about other stuff. I have never given permission to a police officer to search my car. Okay, you don't always have to give permission. There's a consent search, and then there's a search based on statute. So if you're arrested, we're searching, or if you're there's a couple of things. There's search incident to arrest, and then there's search if you've been arrested, and we're inventorying. It's an inventory search to make sure that your laptop and your gold bullion is appropriately stored for your safety. And then there's searches based on. We see something in plain view, and then there's also liquor license search. There's a search based on the HTA for your speed measurement warning device. There's a whole bunch of different reasons, and not all of them require your consent. In fact, the one that requires your consent is a consent search. That's it. Here we go. Oh, Dad's root beer comes in a brown beer type bottle. Well, certainly if we see someone drinking out of what looks like a beer, we'll investigate. And as soon as we determine that it's not alcoholic, then we will cease to investigate and say goodbye. But I could totally see people being pulled over for that, and it would be justified. We can always pull over vehicles to ensure that you're driving with a valid driver's license, that you're that you're insured, and that you're sober. So that's a justified reason all the time. Without having to do anything else. You don't have to be swerving, you don't have nothing. And then on top of that, we have something called mandatory alcohol screening. So we can also, just because we pulled you over, it's a legal stop, so we can also demand a roadside screening device test to ensure that you don't have alcohol in your system. Yeah. What do we have here? Can you drink any non-alcoholic drinks when driving? Yeah, non-alcoholic and non-drug. Do they have any drug drinks? I'm just putting it out there.
They probably do.
There must be a drug-infused drink. If there's a drug, can't have anything that would be drugs or alcohol, any controlled substance. Cool. We got a bunch of questions on Instagram. Keenan says, my uncle is 6'4" and he only fits in Fords. I'm 6'5", so I totally understand. Is a G1 driver at fault at most accidents? I heard the G1 driver are at fault most of the time because they are beginner driver. No, Michael, the driver who's at fault is at fault. And I say that because we investigate collisions, and based on the information that we see and the independent witnesses that provide statements, we determine fault based on the activity, the action of the driver. You can be a G1 driver and not at fault. Now, if you're a G1 driver who is not being accompanied by a supervising driver, you might get charged for that. But you may not be actually at fault for the collision. So every collision is investigated independently. Is it against the law to drive with your trailer hitch in your vehicle? In your vehicle, like attached to the rear? No, it's not. There's no law that says thou shalt not, thou shalt remove the hitch after use and take the ball out. As long as it's not blocking your license plate, it's not an issue. There is a thing that Sergeant Campbell keeps bringing up, and it seems like good advice. If you got into a collision and you bent your frame, and you only bent your frame because you left your ball in and it wasn't being used, then maybe there was additional damage based on your contributing to it. I don't know that, but it could be. So, yeah. Oh, Michael says he's 6'4" and 16 years old. So, yeah, you're not done yet. You might be taller yet. So, yeah, I feel your pain, my friend. Being a big guy is not easy. It's not easy being green. All right. It is 11:03, and we actually went like 3 or 4 minutes late, so I'm good with being a few minutes late. But just to chat again, it has been an absolute pleasure meeting so many of you at the show at the Indy. We're looking for other events. So if you have an event that's coming that you think about an event, like somebody suggested that we should be at, was it not Anime North? It was something else. It was like Fan Expo. They said, you guys should be at Fan Expo. You should be there to do recruiting. You should be there to talk about traffic safety. I think that's a great idea. So we'll have to look into doing that. But if you know of some shows that you think we should be at because it would be the right fit, that we could come in and answer questions and meet everybody, then I think that would be a good idea. So you can always message us. Do it by going to traffic cop.ca, where you can also load up questions so we can use them for tomorrow's show. Now, just going back into Volley to see what Chase said. He sent a message. He's got a pedestrian crossover message. Let's listen to this. Okay.
So if you're at a pedestrian crossover and the pedestrians cross and it's still flashing, can you go, or do you have to wait till it stops flashing?
Good question. So the rules at a pedestrian crossover, a PXO, this is different than an intersection where you have a crosswalk. A PXO, you must wait until all pedestrians are completely off the road. Not until it stops flashing, but completely off the road. When you talk about an intersection, like a regular crosswalk, as soon as they've passed your side of the road and you have to yield to pedestrians. So if no one's coming and they've crossed past you, you'd be able to continue unless there's a crossing guard present, and at that point you'd have to then wait until all pedestrians are off the road. But cool question, and I hope
that's good.
I hope you got the answer you were looking for. And Chase, again, it was a really nice meeting at the Indy. Liz says that hour flew by. It's amazing how that works. We have fun. And we'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. to do it all over again. So have a magical day if you're going to drive. Oh, speaking of drive, I saw a stat, but okay, you know what? Come back in an hour for the video that I post, because I'm going to put up the stats for how many people we arrested over the weekend in Toronto for impaired operation offenses. Okay, have a wonderful day, everybody. We will see you
See ya.
soon.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,